homage to the venerable. To the venerable Mangyami, to the Master Sakya Dzogchen, 16th Dharma Kamapa, to the Master Tupen Dorji, and homage to the three jewels of the altar, and to the main deity of Homa, Namo Kwan High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, and to the Tathagata with the wonderful form and body, and homage to the three jewels of the altar. So all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma lecturers, Dharma assistants, all disciples present here and over the webcast, and our special guest today, and from the Republic of China's Executive UN, the Secretary General of the North American Coordination Councils, Secretary General Liao's wife, Dharma Sister Judy, accountable to the Foundation Dharma Sister Teresa and husband Mary. Producers for the Geni Denzang Xinten from CTI-TV Taiwan, Dharma Sister Rebecca Xiaqi. And from the Overseas Credit One Republic of China's the Head Director's wife, Dharma Sister Liu. And Dr. Ryan Zhong. And the PR Director of the Taoism Temple, Dharma Brother Fermi Wang. And Dr. Lin. Good afternoon, everyone. How do you do? Cantonese. Today we perform the High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva Homa by offering ceremony. And the mantra is the mantra of the seven Buddhas, the world-honored ones of the seven Tathagatas. And today we especially invoke the Tathagata of the wonderful form body. And this Tathagata is our very special guest. The Tathagata was here today. The seven Buddhas was Vipashin, Shikin, Visvabu, Kranuchandra, Kanakamini, Kashyapa, and Sakyamuni Buddhas. The seven Buddhas. And the Tathagata of the wonderful form body was not part of the seven Buddhas. So that's why the Tathagata was a very special guest. One time I went to Japan and I saw a temple that enshrined the Visvabu Buddha. No, actually Kranuchandra Buddha. And the writing in Chinese, it's just a slight different in strokes. So Ji sounded like go, which in Chinese is dog, So Krakuchandra becomes Dokuchandra. So even the names of the Buddhas could change because of the written language. Sometimes there would be some problems or mistakes. So the pronunciation of the Sanskrit so does it sound like go or chi? But the Sanskrit is Krakuchandra. Kra. So Kanakami. So should it be pronounced as go, musa, or G? We'll research it later. So our special guest today was the Tathagata with the marvelous form of body. Because today the airplane, the Malaysian airplane that was shot down, and we invoke the deceased spirits from that accident, and only 32 spirits came, and I had to bardo deliver them several times. There were only 32 spirits that came. And how did they come? Because they saw the High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva and they recognized the High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. So they followed the High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva to come here. And they received the offerings and they entered into the fires and they were purified and were guided to the pure Buddha lands. There were 32 beings. Because their physical bodies are not complete, we need to invoke the Tathagata with the marvelous body. So the High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva and the Tathagata with the marvelous body were both invoked together. So how was this Tathagata? Is the Tathagata that could allow those who do not have a complete physical form so we need the help of this Tathagata to return them, to give them back their original form. That's why the name of the Tathagata is Tathagata with the marvelous body or form. So without Tathagata, their physical body and even their spirits will be handicapped. So that's why we need the Tathagata with the marvelous body to descend and to help them, to let them be purified and entered into the fire and receive all the offerings and then guided to the Buddha lands after the body is completed, the form of the body. So in the Siddhigarbha Bardo Deliverance Yoga, there are many different rituals. And the duties of the Tathagata with marvelous body is to complete each spirit or being with their physical form before they ascend to the Buddha land. So 32 spirits that came and their physical body were destroyed. And only after their physical bodies are being fixed, then like a person's soul consists of 3 and 4 parts of the soul. And there are no empty seats because all the seats are occupied. There were 32 of them that didn't have any seats, so they entered into my body and sat inside my bodies. One by one, they entered into my body. So let the Buddha's light shine, and then all the Bardo spirits delivered to the Pure Lands. And then one by one they left my body, and I counted them, and they were a total of 32. That was very real. Even the Tathagata with marvelous body also came. So we need a spirit tablet for the Tathagata. So in the future, for Bardo deliverance ceremony, we need to add the spirit tablet for the Tathagata with marvelous body. And if you want to Bardo deliverance for the Malaysian airline, we also need to set up a spirit tablet for the spirits so they have a place to go. So we need 2 spirit tablets. One is for the Tathagata for the marvelous body, and the other one is for the Bardo spirits to be delivered. So today when I perform the Homa, all of a sudden the Tathagata with marvelous body descended, and the 32 spirits also came. So the ceremony today was extremely wonderful and perfect. Simply said, the High King Kuan Yin is the Kuan Yin Bodhisattva that's emanated from the High King Kuan Yin Sutra. She is truly dignified and beautiful. This one here is the High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. In the past, the High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, on her back, there are the 6 syllables of the 7 Buddhas. That's the one that I saw on her back. There are the 6 syllables of the 7 Buddhas. But for this statue, there are no 6 syllables, but she is the correct High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. She is truly dignified, beautiful. I have personally seen the High King Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, and on her back there were 6 syllables of the 7 Buddhas. And the mudra is the Dharma teaching mudra. The inner mudra and the outer mudra, either one is fine. This is the inner mudra, and that was the outer mudra. When it's hooked on each other, that's the inner mudra. And when there are two circles, that would be the outer mudra, outer Dharma teaching mudra. Also called the Dharma wheel mudra, like turning the Dharma wheel. There are several different Dharma teaching mudras. This one, this is also Dharma teaching mudra. This one too. But typically we call it the Dharma wheel or turning the Dharma wheel mudra. And with her look, mantra and mudra, we have a practice procedure for the hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, the chanting practice procedure. So I find the hiking Kuan Yin Sutra to be very popular. When I went to Japan, at the Shikoku Island, Shikoku in Japan. In Chinese literally means the four countries, Shikoku in Japanese. And I visited the 88 spiritual centers built by Kukai or Kobodaishi, the great master of Tantric Buddhism in Japan. And I saw the Japanese version of the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. As we know, Buddhism was transmitted from India to Tibet, to China, and then to Korea and to Japan. Japan was last. And we could find Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra in Japan. So that showed that the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra had been widespread in these Buddhist countries. So the great white high country is the West Xia dynasty. So that country was established by the white Mahapadma Kumara. So if you read the Kung Fu novels by Jing Yong, the author, and one that's called the Shen Diao Xia Li, it's the gods and the so those who like to read the Kung Fu novels, they're really good novels. You never read them? There's a city called Hemuya. It's the city that could not be taken down by Genghis Khan. So the Mongolian soldiers occupied all other territories except this West Xia dynasty. And Genghis Khan had tried to attack many times. So Genghis Khan was really mad and died. And later on, Kublai Khan was the one that took down the West Xia dynasty. And why was that? Because at the West Xia dynasty, the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra was very common and popular. And the populace, the people, all recited the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra. So the Mongolian attacked about 10 times before it was taken down. So it was finally taken down by Kublai Khan, not by Genghis Khan. So that's why the merit of the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra was truly great. So West Xia was lost because of some military strategy. So they used a lot of strategy to bribe a lot of the military men in West Xia dynasty. So because of the outer or external attack by the Mongolian military, as well as the corruption inside the country, that West Xia collapsed. So that city was like the city that belonged to the gods or to the bodhisattvas, that it could never be attacked. So the first king of the West Xia dynasty was called the Jingzong. The second king is King Renzong. And then the last king, or the 10th king, were all emanations of the Padma Kumara. When the West Xia dynasty was established by the first king, King Jingzong, at that time, the emperor of the Tang dynasty did not like this new dynasty of the West Xia. So the emperor sent a high official to the West Xia dynasty and to visit the West Xia country. And the country was very magnificent, and the populace were all Buddhist and very peaceful. And it was very noble. So this high official told the Tang emperor that the country is like a complete country, is already completed, and only then the emperor of Tang dynasty make it happen. It's like sometimes someone built a Lijiang temple and they didn't ask for a permit from us. And then when we went there, we sent an envoy and checked on it, and the Lijiang temple was completely qualified. So that's why we let them become a Lijiang temple. It's the same thing with this West Xia dynasty. So the emperor of Tang dynasty let the Xia dynasty be established and give them a family name of Li. That's the family name of the emperors of Tang dynasty. All the kings of the Tang dynasty has the family name Li. And the same family name was bestowed to the kings of the West Xia dynasty and let them establish a new country, a new dynasty. And this West Xia dynasty was also called the Great White High Country, that was established by the Great White Padma Kumara. inside the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra, the first Buddha that was mentioned is the Buddha with the pure and secret light. And the real name is the Padmakumara Buddha with the pure light and the secret Padmakumara Buddha. When I first saw Padmakumara, I only saw a very brilliant, pure light. I didn't know who the Buddha was, and later I knew it turned out to be this Buddha, the secret Buddha with completely pure light. So the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra was very popular in the Westya dynasty. And every individual recited this sutra. And later on, it was spread to the Tang dynasty. And it was very popular in that dynasty. And Tang dynasty is one of the most prosperous dynasty throughout China's history. That's why we call the Chinese is the Tang or the Han person or Tang person. And we call it the Han person is because of the Han, Emperor Han, from the Han dynasty. And Tang dynasty was even a greater dynasty. That's why the Chinese was also called the Tang or Tang person, Tang people. When Dzogchen came to Taiwan, he called that over there is Tang San. So the Tang dynasty was very prosperous. And that's because Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra was popular. And there were many people recited the sutra and they gained lots of responses. So the sutra continued until today. And I was the one who make it popular again in today's world, so that all of you know about the sutra. There is a cause and condition in this. Before me, nobody knew of this Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra in Taiwan. After I popularized it, that everybody knows about the sutra. So this Kuan Yin Bodhisattva has very close affinity with Grandmaster Lu. So those who are the primary supplicants for the Homa today are the most fortunate, and you have the greatest affinities with this Bodhisattva. And those who receive the empowerments today also have very close affinity with the Bodhisattva. So Mr. Ding Fu Bao edited the dictionary, and he regarded that Hiking Kuan Yin Bodhisattva is supreme, and the sutra is also supreme and the highest. It's just like a king. So this person is the person who compiled the Buddhist dictionary during the Ming or Qing dynasty. The Master Lian Ci, do you know which dynasty? Not that Lian Ci. It's Ci meaning pond. That's from Ming Dynasty. The great master Lian Ci, Lotus Pond, followed the exact words of Sakyamuni Buddha because he only believed in the sutras that were directly spoken by Sakyamuni Buddha, and he rejected all the other sutras as counterfeit. So this great master Lian Ci was also a high monk, but he defamed the Hiking Guan Yin Sutra as a counterfeit sutra, like a fake sutra. So this great master Lian Ci was about to go to the Pure Land, but because he defamed the Hiking Guan Yin Sutra, you created obstacles to many people who were about to recite the Hiking Guan Yin Sutra and have attainments, and therefore he was reincarnated. Otherwise, he could have been born into the Pure Land. But because he slandered the Hiking Guan Yin Sutra, he was reincarnated as the Master Hong Yi. I know about this, do you know? So the great master Hong Yi is a reincarnation of the great master Lian Ci. One of his nickname is called Zhu Hong. When his mother was pregnant with him, he saw a monk wearing a Buddhist robe, a red precept robe. So which red is that? This is the kind of red of the, in Chinese it's called Zhu Hong or scarlet red. This color, this is the date red. So she saw a monk that entered into her womb. So the great master Lian Ci was reincarnated as the great master Hong Yi. So he could not become a Buddha, he could not go to the Buddha land to suffer the retribution of his defamation in the previous life. There was nothing to slander about the Hiking Guan Yin Sutra. The sutra just consists of the epithets or the names of the Buddhas, Tathagatas and Bodhisattvas. There weren't that many words. Didn't talk about any concepts. It's just like reciting the epithets of the deities. How could you slander such a sutra? Otherwise, the Repentance Sutra of the Emperor Liang was also a counterfeit sutra because that was not spoken by Sakyamuni Buddha. It was a sutra which is the Emperor Liang of Wu, that created, that asked the monks to create this Emperor Liang's Repentance Sutra. So some sutras were not spoken by Sakyamuni Buddha. There are many sutras. Some sutras were spoken by Sakyamuni Buddha and some were not. And this Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra was a sutra transmitted in dreams. There was a great Tathagata that spoke on this sutra to a prisoner, and when the prisoner learned it in his dream, started to recite the sutra and gained a great response, and that's how it was popularized. So this is a true sutra that contain the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times in the 10 directions. And today we will continue to expound on the great perfection Dharma of Tantrayana, the 4th merit of the Atha-Urma Buddha or the Adi Buddha. Let me take a sip. Behind. So he embodies 10 different kinds of transcendental prowess expressed in playfulness, as recorded in the Mahavaipulya Buddha Vatamsaka Sutra. 1 is relinquishing the celestial or heavenly life. He never goes to heavens to enjoy his good fortunes. 2nd, he appears in the human world born from a womb. 3rd, appearing as a youth. 4th, appearing as a monk. 5th, preferring ascetic's way of cultivation. 6th, like a Bodhi tree, that means enlightened. 7th, subduing demons or maras. 8th, emanating blissful serenity in the attainment of ultimate realization. 9th, turning the Dharma wheel. And 10th, entering into Nirvana. These are the transcendental prowess expressed in playfulness. Grandmaster was in the heavens, and now I appear in the Saha world. We call it transcendental prowess expressed in playfulness, and every one of us too, and every kata-kata is performing the playful transcendental prowess. So he is not born in heavens, and actually in heavens are the most fortunate place, but they don't enjoy the good fortune there. But he entered into a womb to be born as a human being in the human world. 3rd, he appears as a youth. When he was born, he would have the look of a child. 4th, he also appears as a monk or an ordained cultivator. 5th, he can accept or deal with all kinds of sufferings. If you find that life is suffering, actually it is not. Why not? Because we can find happiness amidst the sufferings, then you would not feel the sufferings. I often give an example of the President Apian of Taiwan. When he was the president, he was very happy. He visited Houston in Texas, and he wore a cowboy hat and the blue jeans and the boots, and at dinner time he stepped on the table and showing off his boots, cowboy boots, and he was very very content and very proud when he was in Houston. And now he is in jail, the most suffering, and he suffered from all kinds of illnesses, and he lost his freedom, and he feels very much miserable. And look at any president of any country. They started with the dark hair and they leave the presidency with the silver or white hair. So, are you happy to be a president? Maybe on the surface, but actually it's a lot of suffering. If a calamity occurred inside the country, they would have lots of misery, of problems, because they would know and they have to handle it first. And the richest man of Taiwan, Mr. Ge Taiming, he said there is one job that he wouldn't want is to be a president. He knows that being a president is lots of suffering. He's very happy earning lots of money in his business. You know, when you lose a lot of money in business, there would be suffering too. Or if you go bankrupt, there's even more suffering. There's not much happiness on earth. But now that you come into the human world, you can transform any kind of suffering into happiness. And a spiritual cultivator should be able to do that too. So Grandmaster today is different from Grandmaster of the past. In the past, if someone criticized me, I would lose sleep for 3 nights, and the 4th night I would fall asleep. And you know why? Because I would be so sleepy and tired by then. I couldn't hold it any longer. The first night, because someone criticized me, the criticism, the words continued to churn in my brain. So I lost sleep on the first night, 2nd night, 3rd night. But for the 4th night, I almost died. I was close to death. If I didn't sleep on the 4th night, I would go crazy. I would have mental breakdown. So I couldn't hold it anymore. Let me die. That's Indonesian. That sound in Chinese like, are you dead? But in Indonesian means good morning. Or selamat malam. And then I would die, and I would wake up the next morning, and then I would cry. In the past, when I was slandered, I would cry, I would shed tears. But now, if you slander me, defame me, belittle me, it's interesting. I'm numb to them. Doesn't matter how you criticize me, I would still snore. I don't care anymore. I would still sleep really well. You know what is the most difficult thing on earth? Do you know that joke? Someone, when he encountered the most difficult thing, he would take a look at his wife's photo and said like, nothing is harder than my wife, and then he would feel better. You know, the most difficult thing for Grandmaster, even in that situation, after a few seconds, Grandmaster would fall asleep. Nowadays, I'm very serene. It's very easy to calm down and to make myself quiet and tranquil, because in meditation you would be at peace and at ease. And once you're ordained, you have no more homes. So it's good enough to have one home. Of course, I would be happier if I have 2 homes or 3 homes. I would be happier, right? But these days I am full of happiness. Is there any suffering on earth? The human life is full of happiness. That's why even the Tathagata descends to the human world, because all the sufferings are not regarded as sufferings, but the sufferings of sicknesses are the most hard to bear. You face that. I'm not afraid of anything. Zhang Fei, not Ye Fei. Their names sound alike. Zhang Fei. Where is he from? From Shanxi or Santong. Actually, it's like the east of the mountain or west of the mountain. They're all from the mountain. It doesn't matter whether east or west, Ye Fei or Zhang Fei. Okay. This Zhang Fei was very brave, and he was not afraid of anything. And then Kong Mi asked me, but are you afraid of diseases? And he said, oh yes. Hearing about sickness, he's scared of that. But as a spiritual cultivator, we shouldn't be afraid of the suffering caused by sicknesses. And we should create joy from it. How could you though? Because when you get sick and knowing or being mindful of your sickness, you would cultivate spiritually even better, even more diligent in order to be liberated from your sicknesses. That's why all spiritual cultivators should be sick. Because by being sick, you would suffer, and especially when it is really severe illnesses, you don't care about defamations or slanders. You don't care anymore. I am about to die. I don't even worry about the debts that I owe. I'm about to die already. You don't care about anything anymore. Even when there are a dozen of beauties, hot girls visiting you, you don't feel anything. I'm really sick. Are you trying to you don't even care about them anymore. So at this time, you would be able to concentrate on your chanting and visualization. Then you can go to the Pure Land. Then that would become happiness. So this is transformation of the suffering into happiness. So spiritual cultivators are not afraid of illnesses, because being sick, you would be liberated. If you're very healthy, then you start creating karma in your speech. You curse. When you feel well, then the karma, you would create bodily karma, and your hands would move, and you would create the speech karma, the mind karma. But once you get really sick, then you don't do anything anymore. So being sick is eradicating your karma. So don't be afraid when a spiritual cultivator is getting sick, because you are eradicating your own karma. So the fifth transcendental prowess is you gladly accept your suffering. So Grandmaster is not afraid to be in any situation. Look at the ex-president Appian being in prison, but if that were Grandmaster Lu being in a prison, then that would be a good time to cultivate spiritually, to focus on that. That's the key point. So in any circumstances, the harder it is, the more adversity or hardships that you encounter in a situation, the better it is for spiritual cultivation. There are several types of people that cannot go to heavens. The very rich people cannot go to heavens, like written in the Bible. For the rich man to go to heaven, it would be like the camel passing through the eye of the needle. There are two kinds of bosses. One is the one that earn a lot of money, and the other one is the one that earn even more money. There are no bosses that would reject money. And then those who are presidents, they would have no time for spiritual cultivation. But like for the common people like us, when you're handicapped or if you're in prison, then you can transform your hardship into happiness and make it the best time for spiritual cultivation. And yesterday I've said it, don't think that spiritual cultivation has great merit. Actually, it has no merits. And Jesus Christ even said so. Like the Lotus Light Meritorious Charitable Society, it should have called the No Meritorious. Jesus also said, the good deeds that you do with your right hand, do not let the left hand know. Even Jesus knew. Even Jesus knew. So that means the three wheels are empty. If you continue to exclaim that you do good deeds, like Chen Guangbiao from China, he did perform charity. So he publicized his charity, but he did not comply to the three wheels are intrinsically empty. So the good deeds that you do with your right hand, do not let your left hand know. So Jesus already said that. So like if someone wants your underwear, you also give them your underpants. Of course that was not written in the Bible. But in the Bible it was written, if someone wants your outer clothes, you also give them your underclothes. So Jesus Christ comprehended Buddha Dharma. He knew about the intrinsic emptiness of the three wheels. There were truly no merits. As written in the Dharma Sutra, the so-called merits is no merits, and because it is no merits, then it would be merit. So the 10 different kinds of transcendental powers was written in the Vatamsaka Sutra. Relinquishing celestial life, being born as a human being, appearing as a youth, and the master is practicing the youth practice, appearing as a monk or spiritual cultivator, gladly accepting suffering in the human world, transforming suffering into happiness. And this would be a true Buddha Dharma. In spiritual cultivation, everything is joy. If you were to lose one of your fingers, you only have 4 fingers left, and you would be happy because you still have 4 fingers. And if you lose your right hand, you should still be happy because you still have left hand. And if you lose both hands, you should still be happy because you still have 2 legs. And if you lose both your hands and feet, you would still be happy because you could still swim, roll. So that's how you transform the suffering into happiness. So you should always think positively. That would be true happiness. So that's how you should do in your spiritual cultivation, in my opinion.